Hey everybody, Sam Walker, SamWalkerOBXNews.com. It is Monday evening, and I'm going to do something different with regards to Hurricane Erin, wrap things in a little different way than everybody else is doing. One of the nice things about our unique platform is we can do things different that stand out, but at the same time inform you in a much different way than traditionally what's been done in the past. A lot more than we can do in a 2-minute hit on the Weather Channel that's going to a national and international audience. I want to break things down a little bit more than have been done by anybody else, only because there's so many questions. Why aren't we talking about Corolla? Why aren't we talking about Duck? Why aren't we talking about Nag's Head? All right, simple answer. They're going to get big waves, but they don't have the specific problems that Hatteras and Ocracoke do, and why Hatteras and Ocracoke are getting so much attention, okay? Yes, there are going to be impacts. We're going to see a long period of swell right on into the weekend, maybe even early next week before it finally dies down, all on the Outer Banks. We're going to see this high risk of rip currents starting Tuesday. And if you're watching this, recorded it Monday night, you're probably watching this Tuesday morning. So bear with me on a couple of things that are probably going to be changing and evolving by the time you see this. But what's not changing and evolving is we're going to see a long duration of large waves, some that we haven't seen, at least in my experience of covering these things over the last 30 years. We haven't talked about 15 to 20-foot waves in the surf zone. That's why Hatteras and Ocracoke are getting all the attention. The beaches to the north, not so much. The beaches to the north, a little better shape, a little longer, and also a little less wave energy is going to be hit them. Not much less, but still less, okay? Obviously, the main reason we talk Hatteras and Ocracoke so much is because of Highway 12. Because we know we've got Pea Island, that's going to be rough. We've got all the issues in Rodanthe with the houses out there. And going there today and shooting all the video I did today, it was kind of interesting to see. Man, there's a lot more sand there, even though the tide comes up. And it was low tide when I was there. The tide runs up to them. Quite a few of those houses have been moved back. But there's still quite a few that are out there, several that are, if they make it through this, that's going to be amazing. The Black Pearl, of all the ones everyone talks about, is the Black Pearl. The one, if you remember coming to Myrtle Beach, how different, or that was like the one that stood out. Still there, still in the same spot. We'll see what happens. Of course, we get down to Buxton, all the issues at the motels, and all along that neighborhood there, the old Lighthouse Drive neighborhood, old Lighthouse Road neighborhood, was there. There, the low tide this morning there were waves breaking up against pilings. And the high tide line up underneath a lot of those places. And then, of course, no dune there. The water's just going right down those side streets that come off Old Lighthouse. And then we'll get into the stuff at Buxton. Go down to Hatteras. Same thing at Sandy Bay. Got the blowout there that happened with Isabel in 2003. And a little more sand there, but still the high tide's been coming up to the dune. So we have some issues there. And, of course, north end of Ocracoke Island. That's why Ocracoke and Hatteras have gotten all the focus. That's why the evacuation order's in place. Because there's a good chance at least 6, maybe 8 high tides are going to see waves of 10 plus this week. That's why the national media, that's why the regional outlets, that's why all the focus and all the talk has been about that, because that's where the most severe problem's going to be. As we go north, Corova, it's going to be tough to get to Corova for a couple of days at high tide, all right? That's guaranteed. Anytime we get anything over 8 feet, the water's coming up to the dune. So you got to time yourself out. Can we see some blowouts up there? Yeah, they definitely could see some blowouts up there on the frontal dunes. That's not beyond the scope of imagination if we're looking at 10-foot plus for several high tide cycles. Corolla, same thing. Now, one of the advantages Corolla has is that Highway 12 is how far back away from the ocean. That's why it's not gotten talked about a lot. Do we have houses that are threatened? Oh, sure, we do have houses that are threatened on the beach in Corolla, but not to the level, not to the visual level that you do down south in Hatteras and Ocracoke. Duck, same thing. You've got a pretty good frontal dune. Same thing. Pretty much Corova down to Southern Shores. You got a very well-established dune line. Once you get into Southern Shores, things do start to thin out a little bit. And, of course, we get into Kitty Hawk. Yep, problems there. They've done some Better Beaches OBX, Donnie King, our buddy Lynn Schmitz at Southern Shores. Really done a good job with the grass planting to try and get those dunes to build up all along that stretch, Southern Shores and Kitty Hawk. And into Duck, too. Killable Hills, got some weak spots. Nag's Head, got some weak spots. Of course, we're talking about having to do nourishment on a lot of those beaches in the next year. South Nag's Head, there's some places there that 10 to 15 for 4 to 8 high tide cycles this week could be problematic. So, why is there not a tropical storm watch up for Corolla? Why is there not a tropical storm watch up for Corova? Why is everything stopping at Duck? I saw someone post about that. Why don't we talk about Corolla? Well, part of that is geography. Part of that is geography and how the National Weather Service offices are broken up. Corolla and Corova, they're in the Wakefield, Virginia National Weather Service office. Currituck Mainland, on over to Elizabeth City and Edenton. Everything north of the Albemarle Sound, it's in that office. Everything to the south of the Albemarle Sound, Dare County, and the Outer Banks, down to Ocracoke, and all the way down to North Topsail, Jacksonville, that area. They're in the Newport, Morehead City office. So there's part of the geographic question. The other part of the geography is, hey, one of the reasons why we're talking so much about what's going to happen down south in Ocracoke and Hatteras is strictly because of how they are oriented and how far out in the ocean they actually jut. And if you haven't looked at a map in a long time, here you go. Google Maps. There's Hatteras. There's Ocracoke. Okay, I want to zoom down. Avon, Buxton, Frisco, south-facing beaches, southeast-facing beaches. You get to Avon, go up north, Buxton, Salvo, Ways, Rodanthe. That's a due east-facing beach. North on Pea Island, that's more of an east-northeast. Once we get up here on the other side of Oregon Inlet, things start to go more northeasterly. Less impacts from a south swell, southeast swell, even an east swell. Because, one thing to note, there's a lot deeper water right off the shore here. And that's one thing about the Outer Banks. It's a little deeper water. Yeah, we got the shoals. Yeah, we've got diamond shoals out here. But there's some spots where there's a lot more deeper water than you realize down there. And as we get up north, there's a sharp drop-off on our beaches here. So the more wave energy. Long story short, I'll try to keep it as quick and simple as I can here. But because of the geography and the orientation of our beaches in Corolla and Corova, they face more northeast. So more prone to a northeast swell. This storm is going to be a south and east producing swell. So it's going to be more of a cross current going Corolla, Corova, Duck, Southern Shores. Still going to be 10 to 15, but it's not a direct 15 to 20. The other reason we haven't talked a lot about it, and again, we're starting Corova, is, anytime you get anything above 8 feet, what happens in Corova? Well, high tide, water's up to the dune. You got to drive around it. You got to deal with that. But again, it's kind of normal. Tropical, I'll get to the tropical storm wind side of things in a minute. But again, Corolla, you have the advantage of how far Highway 12 is away from the water. See all that? 1, 2, 3, 4 streets over. Okay? Think of it like the bypass down in Nag's Head, in Killable Hills and Kitty Hawk. How far off the beach is that? It has its own issues with weather, but you're not going to see waves breaking on it, okay? Do we have a pretty established dune line all along here? Yeah, there is, but are there blowouts? Yeah, there are. Will there be blowouts with this? Probably. Will we see some dune blowouts? Probably, up north. even as we go down the beach and we get down here to Monterey Shores, on down Ocean Sands, down to Pine Island, road starts getting a little closer, but you still got some pretty big dune there. You've got 8 to 10 feet, 12-foot dunes. Now, was a storm like this could do what it's done down in Hatteras, Buxton, and Avon, and Rodanthe, where you had 8 to 12-foot dunes and 200 yards of beach? Yeah, it can. These are one of these storms that could really change the dynamics of our beaches all along the Outer Banks. That's one of the concerns. But we know the main concern, is down south. Duck, Southern Shores, yeah, you got a pretty decent established dune line, as I mentioned earlier. Starts to kind of get a little thinner. But what's the other thing is we got Highway 12. There it is. Not much between Highway 12 and the ocean there at Helga, near the Kitty Hawk Killable Hills town line, is there? Nope. Maybe a little bit more down in around the Wright Memorial. But as we get farther south, yeah, it starts to thin out a little bit and get a little closer, and not much dune. South Nags Head, yep, we got problems here in South Nags Head. And I thought I had that up, but I've been scrolling the map, sorry. We'll jump down here to South Nags Head. That's where things start thinning out. All right, so let me go back here to some of the briefings. I'm going to start with Wakefield. So we do have a tropical storm watch in the waters off of Corolla and Corova. We do not have it on land. That's different because when we look at the potential winds out of this system, yeah, there's a higher probability of in the 50 percentile along Corova and Corolla. But once you get to Duck and farther south, we start getting into the 60s and 70s and 70 percentile, that there's going to be some tropical storm force, sustained tropical storm force winds. This is a gust map that I'm looking at right now. That's for gusts. So the National Weather Service and National Hurricane Center feel like that the probability of tropical storm force winds, sustained tropical storm force winds, are really the highest percentage possibility of that happening is from Duck south. Now, we're talking about 3 or 4 days of a blow, even a day. We're talking about an overnight system. Storm wind, tropical storm force winds, the earliest they would get to the northern beaches probably by mid-afternoon. That's the earliest. Most likelihood, and this is a great map the National Hurricane Center has. This is the most likely arrival time. Wednesday night into Thursday morning along much of the Outer Banks. And closer to Thursday morning, northern Outer Banks. Corolla, Corova, Duck, Southern Shores, Kitty Hawk, Killable Hills, Nags Head. South of Oregon Inlet, probably going to be Wednesday night. This is not going to be a long duration wind event. So that's one reason why the concerns about what may happen sound side are not as concerning, that we're not going to see the sustained northeast wind of 40 or 50 for 12 hours and then a shift to some other direction. That's one of the nice things about hurricanes that pass offshore. It's pretty consistent. The winds stay pretty consistent. Is it going to push water down south? Yeah, it probably is in the Sounds. It probably is. No different probably than what we've seen for the last 3 weeks out of this northeast blow. All right, so the wind forecast, that's one reason why we don't have as much concern the farther north you go on the Outer Banks. The main concern is 15 to 20-foot breakers south of Oregon Inlet on Hatteras Island, likely impacting those weak spots, Pea Island, Buxton, Sandy Bay, north end of Hatteras Village, and Ocracoke, north end of Ocracoke, where we've seen blowouts before, where we've seen washouts. That's where the high concern is for what Erin is going to do. That's why so much attention has been paid. Now, I want to wrap things up here with some tips, all right? If you want the definitive look at your forecast for where you are, go to the National Weather Service, weather.gov, and then go, well, let me start here, okay? This is the Corolla forecast page. That's what it looks like. But if you just go to weather.gov, click on northeastern North Carolina, then try to click on the map, because these maps can be a little finicky. But if you click on, see, like put me in Currituck Sound, I want Corolla. Okay, go to the map. Hey, I was trying to show you all this. All right, let's go back here. Okay, we're going to back up. All right, so we click on weather.gov. We're going to click down here in northeastern North Carolina, okay? We're going to go to the Wakefield National Weather Service office. We're going to go click down here on the map. Try to hit that thin little strip of sand there. That's Corolla. Nope, we got we got the Currituck Sound. That's not what we want. We want Corova. All right, now that's Corova's forecast. Okay, breaks it down pretty simple. Tuesday, slight chance of showers. Typical summertime weather. Sunny and 81 with a chance of pop-up storms. Same thing Tuesday night. Wednesday, wind starts picking up a little bit. Winds breezy, sunny, maybe a shower or storm. Wednesday night, little windy, 25 miles an hour, gusts as high as 36, low 77. Thursday, some showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon, partly sunny and windy. That's because Erin's going to be pulling away. So whatever we get, and it's a 30% chance of precipitation. This is not going to be a rainmaker, folks. We're not looking at anything that's really going to cause us any rain issues. Okay? That rain isn't even in any of the briefings because it's really more a wind. It's a surf event. It's a wave event. It's not really a wind event. I mean, a rain event. Okay? And the wind event is very limited. All right. So back to the screen. So there you go. That's Corova's forecast. Okay? I'm going to go down here, and actually I have a lot of these bookmarked. I'm just going to skip on down to Kill Hills because that's kind of a central point on the North Beach. Now, you get into the high surf advisory, tropical storm watch, storm surge watch. Yep. Oh, yeah. You want to see that? Storm surge watch maps? Okay, we'll show you those real quick. That's hurricane. Nope. That's the briefing I was looking for. Okay. Yep. Tropical storm surge watch for all the Outer Banks from Duck to Cape Lookout. And then a high surf advisory for all the Outer Banks beaches. Okay. Right now, storm surge watch. This is as of Monday night. That's probably going to change Tuesday night. All right. All right. So back here, there's your high surf advisory in orange, Tuesday through Friday. And again, we're looking at really Wednesday, a little breezy, a few showers and storms. Same thing Wednesday night, a little higher winds down the farther south you go, with that chance of thunderstorms and a little higher chance, 40%, and then 50% Thursday with tropical storm conditions possible. But we're not looking at a total, everything's going to be green and yellow across us on the radar. It's going to be hit and miss. That's one thing about these bands as they spin in. Kind of hit and miss. Not looking at, a major rain event, thankfully. Now, I'm going to jump down to Buxton. And so Buxton's forecast, there's all the same advisories, high surf advisory, tropical storm watch, storm surge watch. Tuesday night, kind of, a little east wind out of there. Showers and storms and breezy Wednesday with 50% chance. Likely, Wednesday night, windy, north winds 23 to 32 with gusts to 47. Thursday, tropical storm conditions possible. Showers likely in a thunderstorm. With 60% chance of precip. And then things tail off Thursday night, and it turns right back sunny on Friday. Weather's going to be nice. But what's not going to be nice is what we're going to see out of Erin as we get into the meat and potatoes starting Tuesday night and really peaking Wednesday and Thursday and into Friday. Current wave forecast, 15 to 20, just offshore. Maybe 20 to 25 at Diamond Shoals Buoy. 15 to 20 all the way down. Okay, 15 to 20 feet. Now, that is just offshore. We're talking a couple of miles. That's where things are. As those waves get closer, they will subside somewhat. But there's still strong indications that this is going to be a 15 to 20 foot in the surf zone, according to the National Weather Service. And one of the other things about it is a strong long period wave energy. There's going to be like 17 seconds between waves. That is a huge period. That's a lot of energy. And what happens is when those big waves of that period wash up, they go up to the toe of the dune. They go through the dunes. There's just a lot of energy that's going to have to be dissipated by the beach. That's one of the things the beaches do is, one of the things we do with beach nourishment is you put a lot of sand out offshore. That's supposed to absorb some of that wave energy that comes up. Well, we don't have a lot of offshore sand right now off Buxton and Avon even. We definitely don't have any off Rodanthe and Pea Island. Little bit in some spots, Nags Head and Kettle Hills and on up north. South Nags Head, there's some spots there that are probably going to get tough with 15 to 20. We got multiple high tide cycles. We got a little higher than normal lunar tide because we got a new moon that's coming up Saturday. We just come off perigee, which is the lunar orbit. It's closer. So, again, back to where I started with this video is the reason we aren't talking a lot about what's going on up north is because there's so many impacts that are going to happen that are almost guaranteed to happen south of Oregon Inlet. And because of the severity of the waves and the fragility of the beach there and the lack of protection to Highway 12 in a lot of spots, that's why all the focus is down there. Yes, there's going to be waves. Yeah, there's going to probably be some dune blowouts. There's going to be definitely some overwash up on the north beaches and on up to Corolla and Corova. Not to the level, most likely, that Hatteras and Ocracoke are going to get. But we're going to cover it. We're going to keep an eye on it. We're going to share everything we can. If there's a video out there, there's a photo out there, we're going to get it. We're going to share it so everybody can see what's going on where they're wondering. Final point, and I'll wrap it up. If you're thinking what's going to happen this weekend and into next week, right now we don't know. It's going to take probably till at least Sunday for the seas to calm down. Even though Erin is going to pick up a lot of forward speed once it gets off of us and between us and Bermuda on Thursday and starts taking off to the northeast on Friday and is all the way out in the North Atlantic headed towards Ireland on Saturday. Still going to be a lot of energy in the ocean. Those waves are still going to be coming in the same direction. Even though Erin may start passing, Erin's going to start passing her own waves as she takes off in the upper latitudes. Those waves are still going to be coming up from the southeast and east. I'll pull the marine forecast because that's going to give us a very good idea of what the National Weather Service is thinking right now on Monday evening for the ocean south of Oregon Inlet, because they give us a direction on the waves. So Tuesday, and let me pull this for you here. Let me show it up there. All right, final point, and we'll wrap it up. All right, Tuesday, seas 6 to 9 feet, wave detail. Southeast 8 foot at 16 seconds, and northeast 3 foot at 10 seconds. Oh, it's going to be a hobgoblin because we've got that northeast breeze. We've had this northeast wind now for what feels like a month, at least since the beginning of August. On top of we call this a ground swell and a wind swell. You got a 3 foot wind swell out of the northeast. That's because of the surface winds that have been pushing and that little disturbance that's been offshore for the last couple of days. Now we're going to start seeing Erin's southeast swell coming in. So it's going to be kind of over top. So it's going to be it's not going to be very clean, unfortunately, for the surfing. Tuesday night, southeast 10 foot at 16 seconds. Northeast 6 foot at 10 seconds. So again, hobgoblin. I love that term that Captain Marty uses. Wednesday, wave detail southeast 12 foot at 16 seconds, east 7 feet at 9 seconds. Wednesday night, southeast 20 feet at 18 seconds. So it's going to start going southeast. Now, we don't see Thursday, just the tropical storm conditions possible. They don't have the exact wave numbers in there. And that's normal because most likely tropical storm warning, they kind of have to change their products. I wish they would leave some of them alone and leave that in there. Friday, it looks like we're at 10 to 14, subsiding to 9 to 12. Friday night, late to 11, subsiding to 7 to 9. Saturday, 7 to 9. Saturday night, 5 to 8. So it's going to be Sunday before this gets out of here. And it's going to be at southeast well right on through Thursday and Friday. It may finally shift more northeast as we get into the weekend. That means we're going to be dealing again with possible overwash conditions along the beaches into Saturday. So we're at 4 days, at least 5 days, 5 days, 10 high tide cycles. It's not good. And then, rip current risk. I haven't talked about that at all because red flags are going to be up. Double red flags should be up tomorrow. Today, if you're watching this on Tuesday morning. Double red flags are going to be up. Nobody's going to the ocean unless you've got a surfboard. I love how Dare County had to put it in their releases that 5 feet foam and fiberglass has a single fin at least that qualify, and a 6 foot long or longer leash. They specifically worded what a surfboard is because the surfers are allowed into this because surfers usually know how to deal with it. The big wave surfers, they're flocking to the Outer Banks because of this. So anyway, all right. Hope that kind of explains things a little bit. Probably wandered, probably all over the map with you. Sorry. Just wanted to get that out there that no, we haven't been focusing on, the national media has not focused on it because that's just how it works. They've got a story to tell. And the big story is that Ocracoke and Hatteras are going to take a beating from this. And Highway 12 is going to take a beating from this. But all the Outer Banks is going to get beat. It just won't be as severe probably as down south. Still going to be some problems. We'll cover them for you, okay? All right, so you'll see us get back into a little normal coverage. Monday was just, I took that drive down. I really wanted to get a scene set videos of what things look like right now and how these areas that prompted the evacuations, why they're so narrow. The visitor center, P Island, Buxton at the motels, and Old Lighthouse Road, Sandy Bay. I really wanted to hit those 3 spots. And the canal zone up. We haven't talked a lot about the canal zone up towards Oregon Inlet. As you come off the Bass Knight Bridge and on to P Island, the canal zone, that area where there's, constantly trying to move sand up there. It's not a lot of beach. It's not a lot of protecting Highway 12. So that was how I spent all day down there. Made the drive all the way to Hatteras to get those videos and got them up on the socials. So if you haven't seen them yet, you can go check them out. But again, that's why everything is kind of focused down south. Yes, Corral is going to get stuff. Yes, Corova is going to get stuff. And we'll cover it for you, okay? And yes, Duck to Nag's Head, they're going to get stuff. It's just not going to be as bad as down south, all right? That's why. All right, stay with us. One thing to note, Carolina Weather Group, we're going to have live coverage from them via the YouTube channel that Carolina Weather Group has got established with their live weather net, the Carolina Weather Net. We'll have the cameras from the DOT in various places on the Outer Banks, so that'll be scrolling through. We're going to get that up and running on Tuesday here at samwalkerobxnews.com, so you'll be able to just go right to that. It'll have the latest warnings. It'll have the latest watches. It'll have the latest conditions. It will show a lot of other places in North and South Carolina, but the primary focus is going to be coverage of Erin. We'll be on there Wednesday. I know we're going to probably do some live coverage with them Wednesday on the Normal Carolina Weather Group podcast, and also, breaking in and doing some live things as the situation develops. Especially if we're able to get some live shots from down there. Obviously, doing the Weather Channel hits. Been doing some other national media. I think I got some stuff up on CNN now, which is crazy. I've done some hits with WBAL out of Baltimore, our friends over at WPTF in Raleigh, doing some radio stuff there. I had someone reach out with me. Where was she? She reached out to me earlier and said, hey, yeah, use whatever you want. But, yeah, I've got you'll see my stuff around. It's kind of fun, stressful. But it's worth it because we want to keep everybody informed of what's happening around here. All right. Have a great Monday night or Tuesday whenever you're watching this video. Thanks for playing along. Thanks to the founders. If you haven't signed up as a founder, hit us up at samwalkerobxnews.com. We'll see you later.